Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, August 12th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have first five cards in our five-card spread. First card we are starting our day off with today is our Ace of Pentacles in its reversal. We saw this card coming through in our last reading. You know, one of the things I need to stress here, we always seem to see this, going through these periods, feels like it takes a little bit more work, right? Feels like things take a little bit more work when we're experiencing these retrograde periods. But again, if things are difficult right now, being able to push through in that way, it's going to allow for a lot of those breakthroughs. I need to stress this again. I'm going to keep saying this for the next 3 weeks. This is all you're going to hear coming out of me, is I'm going to tell you, okay, the retrograde is not here just to confound things, okay? The retrograde's overarching message is always one that articulates upon the fact that the only way that we can tell the difference between a rut and a groove is if it allows for the ability of choosing it. So we often have these moments during the retrograde that put pressure on things that we do, put pressure on our habits, put pressure on our routines, help us see those fracture points. Why? So that we can find ways of improving, so we can find ways of innovating. So we see even now that there's a lot of this work that's potentially going into laying a lot of that groundwork. I told you, this retrograde's hitting a little bit different than past retrogrades because there's a lot of groundwork that is being done during this time. For feminine energy, this is getting very practical. There's a lot of practicality that we see is occurring right now for feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. So for a lot of the feminine energy, putting that tangible effort into a lot of those aspirations, a lot of those dreams, a lot of those goals right now, some being able to utilize some of this slowdown energy in ways that feels like it is practical and effective. This is a lot of the feminine energy that's learning, again, to generate their own confidence, to build into that confidence, to allow some of that confidence to guide them their path forward at this time. Taking a page from the masculine's book, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. If this is a feminine energy that's working through those pathways of progress, wherein again, they doubted yourself, or you're in those modalities where you often have that ability of saying that, feeling that sense of what you do not being energetically enough. What does masculine say to feminine at that time? What are you basing that off of, right? If you have something that you're identifying as a point of comparison, saying that something isn't enough, that's almost the masculine that says to the feminine, where are those external expectations coming from? So we see even now that for a lot of the feminine energy, giving back to oneself in this way, particularly for a lot of the energy deep within the divine union frequency, that feeling of being energetically enough, but then also getting very practical and pragmatic. This is a lot of the energy that's not moving in that state or space of energetic desperation, so much as that feeling of grounding. While for masculine energy right now, we saw there was a lot of emotionality that was coming to the surface last week. There was a lot of that emotionality, a lot of that ability of seeing something and just doing a lot of emotional unpacking. Why is that occurring for so much of the masculine energy right now? Well, the energy right now deep within divine union, that ability of feeling stability, the ability of feeling energetically safe to feel the full breadth of your emotions. That's a lot of the masculine energy at this time that is recontextualizing experiences and spaces and places from the past, wherein you may have moved in a way or in a shape because you did not feel emotionally safe. Right? For a lot of the masculine energy right now, a lot of this work that we also see that you yourself are doing is if in the past you identified strength as spaces or places where you just shut off your emotional center and allowed yourself to just kind of move from that point of stability. For a lot of the masculine energy, learning and re-identifying strength as the ability to feel a lot, to have that abundance of emotional feeling, but then move through it with that sense of intentionality. This is a lot of the energy of the masculine deep within divine union right now that is working on that pathwork of integrating the emotional self with the practical self. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, A lot of this work that we're seeing right now coming into divine union, I'm just going to say it specifically and particularly, a lot of this work that we're seeing at this time has to do with spaces and places wherein this is either the modality of like having a different perspective on something or coming into some kind of energetic reconciliation. Why are we seeing this right now? Because we identified that for a lot of the energy last week, navigating some terrain wherein masculine was in that emotional sensitivity space, potentially even navigating something that masculine was very emotionally sensitive upon, but feminine was looking or articulating from more of a pragmatic route. Like a lot of this energy right now, we even saw that this could be energy like coming into divine union that's navigating like their first conflict to a certain extent. Feeling a little bit of that external pressure. Why are we seeing that here? Because again, that ability of experiencing, and we even saw this, masculine looking at something potentially from the past in a way that feels like it struck that energetic nerve. Feminine being able to navigate something and not, and we kept having this message coming through last week as well. Again, masculine only holds on to things, masculine holds on to things that they hold dear. Feminine will hold on to anything for the sake of holding on to it. And so we see even now that ability of recognizing and identifying that, navigating forth in that way, that could either have allowed for a point of energetic breakthrough. And some of that breakthrough could have been, again, the ability of the energy coming into divine union, learning the gift of not coming into the pathwork of assumption, but almost allowing that curiosity, allowing that introspection to guide forward in a way that feels like it is reaffirming. It feels like, again, you felt that volatility come up, but then immediately having it kind of quelled in the moment that it was brought off. For some of the energy right now, this is feeling like a pathwork of satisfaction and success, potentially even, again, reconsideration points if these were experiences from the past where navigating that territory would have created like disruption, would have created major disruption, maybe even falling out of divine union. While for some of the energy right now, this could have been more volatile. This could have been more triggering. I'm even seeing here that there may have been some energy that fell out of divine union for that reason, specifically and particularly because, but even here, I need to stress this. If there was an experience that you went through wherein, again, you recognize and identify that what you brought forth towards it doesn't feel like it's representative of you, like if you have that feeling of moving off of your own energetic standards because you were feeling triggered, the best way to navigate forward in that way is always to articulate upon the fact that that occurred, right? Because that's how we can take even those moments that we feel like we could have done better and allow them to build a bridge in terms of recognizing and identifying what feels like a true apology. What do we see in a true apology? The ability to articulate upon what you would do differently and then ability to implement it going forward. While for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, this is a lot of the energy in separation that's getting extremely practical. A lot of practicality that's being brought forth. Because again, if these are energies that are navigating or dealing with circumstances or situations that feel like they were presenting tangible obstacles in relationality to having an energetic connection, this is either the energy that is coming up with new solutions to those problems, to those hurdles, or this is the energy that's effectively saying there's not anything that can be done about them. But even in that moment of saying there's nothing that can be done about it, it allows for that ability of not taking something personally, because these are the energies that are effectively just looking at the situation and recognizing potentially that if the situation were different, there may be different possibilities that are emerging. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here even now, we love this. Look at this. We've got our Devil card in its reversal. This is cathartic. This is healing. This is productive. Because this is the energy that is looking, again, even in separation. This is the energy that is not just focusing on what they energetically feel for another person. They're asking themselves if there's a way to establish an energetic connection in a way that will be positive. Or if there's something about the practicals that feels like it will be too triggering. if there's something about the practicals that feels like there's too much of that energetic hurdle, because these are a lot of the energies in separation that are not just being mindful about the energetic connection, what they feel between them and a potential counterpart. There's that recognition point that, again, having that point of compassion in relationality to whether the partnership or the relationality can exist in a state or space that feels like it is uplifting, if it feels like it is healing. This is the energy that is not navigating from a place of what they feel, but what they feel is best. And what happens in those modalities where we approach new potential energetic connections with a sense of trying to identify and articulate what is best. This is the energy that's almost bringing forth compassion, again, to one another in separation, that is allowing either that healthy resolution, right? That modality of recognizing and feeling like you're moving forward, but you're doing so with like all the energetic compassion in your heart as you do so. That's a heart opening exercise. Or this is energy that is still trying to navigate and determine if there is path work. This is like some of that thinking energy that we saw that was coming through with the union, like the energy in separation right now. If there was a way to implement an energetic connection that would allow for that positivity, that would, because if these are the energies in separation that are already feeling that those hurdles are creating too much of an environment that feels like it's too emotionally difficult, this is the energy that's trying to articulate upon there being some kind of solution there. While for some of the energy right now, this could be energy that's ready to like make new energetic connections, but energy that's making new energetic connections, feeling very restored from whatever they're energetically leaving behind, specifically because I told you, I see a lot of energy that's coming into separation, but on the best of terms. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, there's a lot of reconciliation here. I gotta say it. There's a lot of reconciliation. And if there was some volatility that potentially rose up last week in relationality to, again, I'm just seeing circumstances wherein masculine was holding something at emotional weight that feminine was like almost not holding any, like looking at something much more practically, masculine looking at something more sensitively. And if that created any volatility here, I feel like there's a lot of this energy within coming into divine union that's either in that relief as to how well something was handled, or coming into some path work of trying to restore something here by recognizing and identifying and taking accountability for what you would do different going forward. Again, if this is a situation right now, I'm going to say it again. It's not our job to be energetically perfect. It is our job to take accountability when we're not. So I see even now that for a lot of the energy that's moving in that space or place of restoration, it starts with accountability of the self. For masculine and feminine energy, and it has to be, and I see even here, it has to be mutual. You know what I mean? I almost see the energies in that experience doing that. For masculine and feminine energy, deep within the divine union frequency right now, a lot of this energy is navigating that difficult hurdle where the recognition point of what type, how you want to move in a compassionate way can only move forward insofar as someone else wants to receive it in the same way. So we're seeing even here that for a lot of the energy navigating circumstances or situations in that way, I have to stress, this is the energy that's deep within the divine union that has effectively, to a certain extent, it's letting go. And we were talking about this a lot last week. When you move with intentionality, when you move with care, you relinquish the energetic outcome. You know what I mean? You just let that go. You just move forward in a way or in a space or place where a lot of that, it doesn't necessarily matter. But we see even now that for a lot of the energy deep within the divine union frequency, almost having some modalities of saying to someone it doesn't matter, and someone else being almost like the energy of the counterpart saying it matters to me. You know what I mean? That recognition point, there's a lot of catharsis potentially coming through around that, because that is the energy they're like, the path work is not requiring that sense of perceptual acknowledgement, or coming into that space of moving in that way for the sake of the like this is the energy that moves in that way because it like navigates the personal self. But we're seeing even there, like for a lot of the energy deep within the divine union frequency, just the ability, the recognition point of the counterpart, seeing how hard the counterparts are working. Like a lot of that work, like, it's almost that moment of saying to someone, like good is always good, regardless of how it is perceived or regardless of how it is seen. Like that's almost like the energy that's like showing appreciation for the counterparts via the articulating and saying, if no one else sees it, I do. Third card in our 5-card spread is, we've got here our 4 of Cups in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy deep within the divine union frequency. Bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. A lot of it feels, there's a little bit of this work right now, and this is such retrograde energy. There's a lot of energy right now deep within the divine union frequency that is making choices and just moving forward into those choices energetically to a certain extent. And how like receiving, like feeling like that sense of like determination. Like there's a lot of planning, as I've mentioned, that's occurring right now for the energy deep within the divine union frequency. And a lot of those choices that we're seeing are like, it's like blank slate, because there's a lot of this that's not coming into that path work of trying to foresee like what the foregone conclusion is, so much as just moving towards what you feel is the right direction at this time. And so we see even now that for a lot of that energy, it can be frustrating, right? We can see how frustrating that can often feel, specifically and particularly because for some of the energy right now, it feels like you're navigating circumstances or situations where you're trying to unpack other energies' intentions, other energies, like it's almost like trying, like other energy, whether energy is moving in that same way. And so we see even now that a lot of that, this is a lot of sharing of perspectives that is occurring right now deep within the divine union frequency. A little bit of that energetic unpacking, if you will, like I mentioned, because we see even here that for a lot of that energy, being able to articulate upon it, like that is the gift of the frequency. It's giving you energetic perspective. It's giving you an ability to see something in a different way. So that's like a lot of the energy that's like keeping a very open mind about things, hoping for the best. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing that's occurring right now for energy coming into divine union, this is articulating upon some of the choices, is what we're seeing here. Because especially and particularly if there was some kind of feeling here of energetic conflict that was navigated, I'm seeing even now one of 2 different modalities of someone basically saying like, I really appreciate how well we navigated that. And potentially even going into articulating and saying, in the past, that was not something that I'd experienced. Or this is energy, if there was something that was volatile, if there was something that feels like it knocked you out of alignment a bit, that ability of again, I need to stress this. This is the energy that says we're not just going to put it behind us and pretend it didn't happen. This is the energy that recognizes and says the only way that we maintain what we have energetically is to address it, is to navigate it together, because it's the moment that the energy says, the minute we just say, let's just let it go, that's the energy saying we've just knocked down an energetic boundary, right? So we see even now that there's a lot of that energy that's articulating upon that point, articulating what that is. And so even here we see that the fact that the energy isn't in that space or place of just wanting to let something go, but taking the time necessary to really understand it. That's the energy that even here is moving and working towards healing, because it's the affirmation of saying that when we let something go, what we're basically saying is we're making ourselves comfortable with a boundary being crossed. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, this is why we see even now, this is energy that's trying to find an easier way to be in connection. Really trying to wrap their heads around if there's a solution to a tangible problem. Or this is energy that is moving forward into new energetic connections, articulating and saying to themselves that it wasn't necessarily the connection itself that was a problem, so much as the circumstances surrounding the connection. So even here we see that there's a lot of breakthroughs that are happening, and a lot of those breakthroughs are coming into reconciling, either again reconciling what is happening or reconciling with the energetic counterpart. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here our World card. And we love to see this because that feeling of reconciliation that either happens within the self or feeling that sense of being with, like, in an energetic connection. I need to stress here, I think that this is something I'm seeing here that's happening for some energy and separation. If there are energies right now that are in separation, but they're both trying to reconcile a way that they can be energetically together in a way that's easier, that's not really the energy that's in separation, because you're both in alignment in relationality to what you're trying to do right now. So we see even now that for a lot of that energy in separation, just trying to figure that out, just trying to uncrack something about trying to crack that nut to a certain extent, trying to come to a solution to an energetic problem. This is energy that might feel like they're in separation, but actually they're moving into divine union, because they're both in alignment in relationality to how they're navigating something. While for other energy right now, if this is a modality of just accepting that the energetic hurdles are too great, that's that healthy separation, right? That allows for that feeling of internal reconciliation very quickly, that helps build forward into pathwork. So a lot of this energy is moving forward right now with that sense of easement, having learned a very valuable lesson, but also feeling the reconciliation within the self of identifying and understanding why something didn't work. That doesn't allow for that to feel like a heartbreak moment so much as it feels like a heart expansion. Masculine and feminine energy right now coming into divine union. Again, this is either energy I'm seeing that is feeling the relief in how quickly some kind of energetic conflict could be reconciled. Feeling that sense of easement, even in that moment of saying, even when something wasn't energetically good, it was good. While for a lot of this energy right now, if these are modalities wherein something feels like it came out of alignment, particularly in the realms of masculine holding, becoming overly protective potentially on something that they were feeling emotionally sensitive about, feminine looking at something more pragmatically, but in a way that might not have allowed for empathy towards how the masculine was feeling. These are the energies that are taking accountability at this time, trying to articulate and regulate what they would change within the self if that were to occur again, so that they can have a more of an easement point moving forward. And we see even now that for some of that energy, the ability, what's articulating the energy that can stay within the frequency is the energy that says not just letting something go, right? This is the energy that's nope, not going to let it go, because if we let it go, we've set some kind of new energetic standard that we can maintain or hold to going forward. So this is the energy that's doing that work of unpacking something, all for the sense of identifying what needs to change going forward that won't lead to so much of that energetic disruption. Fifth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here our 4 of Pentacles in its reversal. So if this card looks familiar, it's because we received it last week as well. So what is, and for the energy deep within the divine union frequency right now, and this is for some of the energy also coming into divine union, that ability of feeling that you can come into a space or place of being open, right? Because what's happening for energy right now that hit a conflict point, but that conflict point was easily navigated through. It was just easily, easily registered, easily processed. Like a lot of that work that we're seeing, it feels like, and this is a little bit of that Leo season energy, like that patting oneself on the back, because this is the energy that almost says to themselves, like, you make something energetically easy. And then the energy almost says immediately back to itself, no, you do. The work that we do together, like the work that you do on yourself, is why something can be energetically easy. This is the energy that's coming into a place of appreciation for not only, and I'll have to stress this, this is an energy that goes, oh yay, I found a counterpart. Everything's easy now. This is the energy that recognizes, says, I found an ideal counterpart, and I've also done the energetic work on myself enough that even in moments or modalities of difficulty, this is the energy that works towards resolution. Masculine and feminine energy, deep within the divine union frequency, if these are spaces and places where you're not experiencing that, the observational point of having to look at something outside the connection itself and saying, are they in the same modality where they look at things from a point of resolution? Or are they taking something too energetically personally? This is what a lot of the energy within the divine union is trying to suss out, because again, that ability of identifying that's some of the energy looking within the divine union towards situations and experiences outside of the energetic connection, and building that point of being informed in relationality to what it feels like, and what feels like something that can be restored versus something that one needs to just have some healthy energetic boundaries towards. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in coming into divine union, that point of appreciation, that's showing how far you've come at this point. While for any of the energy right now that feels like that there was too much of a disruption there, we see even now that a lot of that work and being able to take accountability, a lot of that work of recognizing what is within you to change versus what is outside you that you need the counterpart to work on. We see even now that that's a lot of the energy that's learning how to inhabit the space between one another even more via V, curiosity, via V, emotionality, via V, an ability to articulate upon something instead of not having that moment of saying just let it go, but almost saying no, we're not going to let it go. If someone was energetically hurt, we're going to be very mindful of navigating in such a way to try to find that easement point going forward. While for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, this is either I want to say a new energetic cycle that is opening for some of the energy in separation. If these were spaces, but again, very positive, if these were spaces and places wherein it was articulated or decided that the circumstances themselves, it wasn't anything that was happening between you and the potential energetic counterpart, but more the circumstances outside of the experience of building into an emotional place with someone that was creating too much disruption, was creating too much emotional upheaval. This is either the energy that is still functionally working to try to find a solution to that energetic problem. And along the way, they're almost in alignment, because even doing that, going through that process is articulating that they are in alignment. Or this is the energy that's coming into healthy resolution right now, recognizing and identifying and saying to oneself, were things different, there could be an energetic connection here. So a lot of that feels like, again, that's that Leo energy that comes in during this experience, because the Leo energy builds the confidence in the self. This is a lot of the energy that's moving forward in separation, saying not taking something energetically personally builds into the state or space of consciousness. Continuing to get clarification between our Ace of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Devil card in its reversal. Card from the bottom coming up, I'm not surprised to see it because it's the retrograde. So what is causing issues in relationality to reconciling things within the self right now? Doubting the self, coming into those states and spaces of doubting one's own self. Masculine and feminine energy right now in separation. This is the energy that, again, this is either, because I keep saying two different modalities here, the energy that is feeling very, very frustrated given the circumstances. Just feeling very frustrated. And that's why the energy is working so hard to try to resolve or try to come into that state or space of something that feels like it would work better. Or this is the energy in separation that is simply accepted that the circumstances are such that they don't build into a place or space of feeling like there can be that positivity, right? So this is the energy that is coming into that state or space of karmic release to a certain extent, because this is the energy that says, you know, it doesn't want to, like, it's saying to me, it doesn't want to hold on to an energetic connection if it doesn't feel like it is what's best for the energy. Like that's what's so there's a lot of this like if you love something, let it go kind of energy that I'm seeing is occurring right now for some energy in separation. You know, because it's almost the articulation or the amplification of saying, it's not that it just the energy wants someone energetically. It's like the energy that's looking towards a potential counterpart and saying, I want what's best for both of us. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, a lot of this energy, if these were conflict spaces, if these were spaces wherein that volatility emerged, something about that feeling of energetic conflict, having to navigate it, this is either the energy that is articulating about, they're going into some energetic recall and saying, you know, I had something similar happen in the past, and woof, was that a different experience, right? This is almost the energy that's like showing their appreciation for the counterpart by articulating about how those same experiences may have led to major disruptions in the past. Or this is energy that may be articulating towards one another as they build into reconciliation and saying, I have a tendency of doing this. I have a tendency of doing that, because that same energetic recall about something from the past coming forward here, it's either leading to that place of being able to articulate upon the experience or utilizing it as a point of reference. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within the divine union frequency, a lot of this work that we're seeing right now, it has to do, there's a lot of this work that is navigating forward in states or spaces or places where, and again, if there's something here that the energy is going through that is feeling that point of energetic frustration, feeling that point of feeling like something that you're trying to move towards that isn't moving in the way that you would aspire or desire it, a lot of that gift that we're seeing that is occurring with the energy of the counterpart is almost helping to recognize and identify if something or someone is in alignment with you in the first place. You know, there's just a little bit of that energy here that we're seeing. If these are spaces or states where it's like, you know, like if it, like I can almost see the energies of the counterparts like articulating and talking about something and saying like, you know, everything I do, it doesn't feel like it's enough. Nothing I do in this area feels like it's productive. Like having that moment of either articulating about those outside energetic connections that may be creating that feeling of disruption or frustration, or something about doubting one's own self. And so this is the gift that a lot of the energy within the divine union is doing right now. It's helping figure out the difference, you've heard me say it before, between an internal versus an external problem. Something that you yourself can change from within, or something that you're just experiencing from without. And that ability of articulating that ability of deciding that's allowing for a lot of energy to potentially have breakthroughs during this retrograde period. Continuing to get clarification between our Devil card in its reversal in combination with our Four of Cups in its reversal. Clarification coming through right now with... We've got here our Seven of Cups in its reversal. A lot of choices that we're seeing that is coming through right now, particularly for the energy deep within the divine union frequency. Because I'm just seeing that for a lot of that energy, you know, there's I keep seeing it. This retrograde is one about planning. this retrograde is one about solutions. I like seeing this because this is like, it's not the fact that there aren't difficulties or problems that are emerging. It's it's like the rapidness. There's something about the rapidness in terms of making a choice for a lot of the energy right now. Deep within the divine union, something about observing a change in the self where you would have vacillated more. You would have hemmed and hawed. You would have kind of gone into that place of questioning one's own self. The ability to identify and recognize and just effectively like make that energetic choice. A lot of that, interestingly, it's speeding up. It's speeding up during this retrograde period, which is intriguing because usually we would experience a bit of a slowdown here. But the reason, and I need to stress this, is because if you enter a retrograde period and you're focused, you know what that focus is. Well, your decisions come a lot more easily, even in moments where you feel like you experience a bit of a rut or a bit of a disruption. While for masculine and feminine energy, this is like the energy within the divine union that like, you know, they've got that to-do list. You know what I mean? They've got that. It's like, oh, that's not working. This call. I'm gonna turn my attention here. Oh, that's not working. I'm gonna do this. Right? Like that's how the retrograde becomes this extremely productive time. Because even if you're experiencing the kerfuffles, like if you got something else on the list, it doesn't matter so much because you're just moving to that next thing. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, and a lot of it is like the pathwork of learning how to navigate self-doubt. Like this is a heavy retrograde for navigating self-doubt. I don't want anyone doubting themselves right now. I want you drinking your water. I want you saying your affirmations. I want you making those phone calls you need to make when you're feeling a little bit uncertain. For masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is either the energy that's feeling the security in the decision of moving deeper into an energetic connection, specifically and particularly by seeing how easy one moved through an energetic conflict. It's just like reaffirm, like some of that energy is like the resolution is the affirmation of seeing something and seeing how quickly something could move into a reconciliation modality via conflict is reaffirming a lot of the energy's commitment to move deeper into a connection with someone. There's like a lot of energy that's like, you know what, I liked you before, but kind of after this fight, I like you even more now because of how healthy, how well we handled it. While for some of the energy, and I wouldn't get frustrated. Listen, I don't want you to be don't be beating yourself up right now. If you felt like that was more something that is still being navigated, because that experience, that ability of allowing a conflict to be a learning moment, to be educational, to not take it personally. What happens when we navigate conflict, but we don't take it personally? We welcome it for the lesson, we welcome it for the lessons that it can bring. So we see even now that a lot of that energy is working through what occurred to be able to navigate what they could do better going forward, thus staying within divine union. Not just letting something go, but saying we're not going to let it go. We're going to reassess and determine what we could do better going forward. While for masculine and feminine energy, a lot of this energy in separation right now, there's a lot of energetic, I want to say reconciliation that is occurring right now. And when I say reconciliation, that reconciling with something, reconciling is either, again, this is the energy that is reconciling the fact that they feel a very strong energetic connection with someone, but they're reconciling themselves to the circumstances that are such that are potentially preventing an energetic connection from being able to form that feels like it's too emotionally difficult to bear. And that's the energy that's moving forward right now with a lot of internal reconciliation. Reconciling is recognizing the reasons why and being able to immediately come to terms with it in a way that feels like it is heart expanding instead of heartbreaking, right? While for the other energy right now, there's still some energy in separation that I am seeing is potentially like utilizing this retrograde period and being like, I'm going to figure out a solution to this hurdle. like trying to come up with that pathwork, trying to come up to that plan to see if there's something that can be energetically done to make something easier. Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Cups and its reversal in combination with our World card and its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Strength card in its upright. You know, it's like a strength training exercise right now, my friends. It really is. Because again, here's the thing. The beauty that we're seeing here, I got to just point this out. The beauty that we're seeing for some of the energy and separation is coming through. Like this is so profound. This is so important for so much of the energy and separation right now. There's a lot of energy right now in separation that's articulating upon the feeling of saying it's not my fault. But I mean that not in a way, listen, I'm not meaning that in a way of someone saying it's not my fault, it's your fault. It's your fault. No, this is the energy. No, that's not what that means. It's not my fault that immediately tries to move the burden of blame to somebody else. This is the coming through with that feeling of saying it's not my fault, because it's the energy saying it's not our fault, right? There's a lot of this energy I'm seeing right now in separation that is just recognizing that something about what they're trying to navigate through is out of their hands to a certain extent. And in that ability and recognizing the vitality that someone has brought forth towards you in a moment that it feels like there's something that you're dealing with, right? Instead of bringing up. A lot of energy right now is healing from the past experiences where it felt like there was always something that was being brought up instead of something that is being mutually dealt with. Right? So for a lot of that energy, that is either the energy in separation that's still feeling that energetic connection and trying to, again, deal the difference between dealing with dealing with something that's being brought up versus dealt with. So we see even now that there's like that energy that's recognizing and feeling, even in separation right now, the potentiality of a connection, because the energy is still trying to articulate like how to deal with the energetic hurdles. Or this is that modality that we're seeing and recognizing that is best expressed with the energy that says the circumstances are such that it feels like it's not what's energetically best. And in that modality, in that moment of being able to acknowledge that mutually, the energies move away from one another with that feeling of strength, with that feeling of vitality, because this is the energy that says it's not due to a lack that is creating some kind of separation here. This is the energy saying this is just given, like this feels empowering even as I move away from it. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, I like seeing this right now because I see one of two different modalities that are occurring. This is the energy that's feeling the release and relief, having navigated something that felt like it was energetically disruptive, almost immediately moved back into harmony and said, wow, that experience of going through the conflict and then immediately coming back out of it feels fortifying, because that's the energy that feels stronger, right? Feels stronger for it. While for some of the energy right now navigating that conflict space, if this was something that made you feel more separated or falling out of alignment, this is the energy that's now trying to come back towards each other in an act of reconciliation, saying, how can we become stronger for this? That's why the energy isn't just letting it go. Because when we let something go, it often becomes a weapon instead of a tool, right? When we let something go, that's often something that gets brought back up because you never healed it, right? So for a lot of that energy right now, this is the energy saying, no, we're going to address it now. We're going to take that space that we recognize that we were weak, and we're going to make ourselves energetically stronger for it. While for masculine and feminine energy, deep within the divine union frequency right now, a lot of this work that I'm seeing that is occurring for the energy deep within the divine union frequency right now, it's a little more frustrating. I want to say it. There's something about this right now for the energy deep within the divine union frequency that feels more about the recognition point versus how you move versus how others move. Because we see even now that for a lot of the energy in that modality right now, that feeling of making choices is one that, like, you know, I even see it, like a lot of that energy is like almost feeling very, this is not, and I need to stress this, there's a lot of the energy deep within divine union frequency right now that's recognizing and identifying. They're not moving forward on that path work that says, like, you know, when you move forward with intentionality, you surrender the energetic outcome. And so for a lot of the energy deep within the divine union frequency right now, the ability to do that authentically, like some of that, it feels very frustrating, because I can almost see that some of the energy deep within the divine union frequency is navigating circumstances or situations energetically where it feels like energy is more confused, more uncertain, right? And that's a modality that a lot of the energy feels like they can't necessarily, it's like when someone's in a point of confusion with themselves, you can't necessarily help them through it. They need to find that within their own self. So we see even now that for a lot of that energy navigating that space, it's difficult, because that is a lot of the energy almost like trying to help through circumstances in that way, but helping someone find their own strength in the process. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our World card in combination with our Four of Pentacles in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Moon card. Masculine, like this is speaking about energetic confusion to a certain extent. So what we're effectively seeing here, and like a lot of this work that we're seeing that's occurring within the divine union, is more of that feeling of helping, you know, helping bring clarity and strength around circumstances and situations that feel energetically confusing. That's really a lot of this work that we're seeing here. Because for a lot of that energy right now, and this could even have to do with like energy, like interpersonal circumstances, relationships, you know, when we move with intentionality, what we're basically saying is we abandon confusion because our path is clear, right? That path is clear because we move with intentionality. That intentionality comes from within. So if this is energy that is navigating or trying to assist those around a certain extent that are feeling that energetic confusion, like there's that modality of effectively trying to help someone in such a way that you have to articulate and say, I can't tell you what that is. You have to find that within one's own self. So we see even now, like this is more of that energy navigating in that way, right? And it feels productive and it feels helpful, but it can also feel frustrating because it doesn't come into that modality of being overly energetically prescriptive, right? Because when someone's trying to find their own path, you can't come in and say, this is the path for you, right? That's that modality of trying to say, like, you know, what do you need to find to be able, like, what do you need to understand within the self to be able to find it? And we see even now, like a lot of that energy deep within the divine union frequency, you know, it's like they go within themselves with like little flashlights, trying to figure out what those spaces are, because the more that one understands oneself, the clearer the path becomes as you move forward from this point. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, this is a lot of that, like going into the self with a little flashlight kind of thing. Because if these are experiences wherein there was a conflict energy that was brought forth, but you were navigated it so energetically peacefully, right? Like you articulated upon it instead of reacting to it. You communicated the emotionality instead of subjecting another towards it. This is the energy that shows the appreciation by saying, it doesn't require you to be perfect, but you know yourself enough that you're able to recognize and identify your emotions to such a degree that the ability to experience them, it starts with introspection. And that's why it's easier to navigate those spaces, because those are the energies coming into divine union that feel what they feel and then articulate towards them in a way that the emotions become like tools instead of weapons. Now, if these are some modalities wherein that occurred and something became more energetically volatile. Masculine was overly sensitive in a way that they subjected another to their emotions. Feminine immediately, what happens when masculine subjects feminine to emotions? Bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Feminine immediately shuts down, builds up a shield, because that point of having to protect themselves from the masculine's over emotionality no longer becomes a productive conversation. That's where the emotionality becomes walls of anxiety and fear. There's some of this energy right now that may be articulating about the fear that was brought forth that created that inability to communicate. And being able to do that ability of identifying it, even here, this is why I'm saying, even if something reached that level and degree, the ability to recognize that it did, not just letting something go, which says that'll be the standard going forward. That's what you can expect to happen if that occurs, but rather utilizing that in a productive way. This is a lot of energy getting to know each other in the process. And in the act of getting to know one another, we get to know ourselves. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is in separation, this is why we see that so much of that energy in separation right now, this is either like really putting, like, this is like drafting out a plan. This is like trying to figure something out. Trying to figure something out or trying to energetically let it go. But I need to say, in both modalities, the reason, I know you're like me and be like, but wait, those are two different. No, they're not. They're the same thing. Trying to work something out and trying to let it go is the same thing when you utilize the word reconcile. This is the energy that is trying to reconcile something that is occurring in the tangible space. So this is the energy that, again, is either reconciling the fact that the circumstances are such that there's too much, it's too confusing. There's too many unknown variables. There could be a lot of energy right now that may be saying to someone, I care about you deeply, but the distance between us, something about the situation, those unknown variables, they're too much to bear. Right? And so we see that that's a lot of the energy that's coming into that reconciliation point by saying, I want what's best for us by moving forward, right? The compassion being brought forth that's allowing for that sense of being able to start a new energetic cycle, but from a state of peace, feeling like it's not one's fault. The circumstances are the hurdle. Or these are energies that are trying to reconcile. They've got a headlamp on. They're like sitting there. They're trying to figure out a plan. They're like, what if I do this? What if we move? Like trying to do everything they can to try to figure out a way to reconcile what those variables are that feel like they're too energetically confusing to make something more peaceful going forward. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Wands in its reversal in combination with our Seven of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Ten of Pentacles in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is the gift. This is what's beautiful about this, because this is the energy that if these are circumstances and situations wherein there's too many outside obstacles, there's too many difficulties, this is almost the energy that's navigating those states or spaces with compassion, saying, I'd rather be in that modality, making something energetically easier. This is almost the energy. This is a big problem with some of the energy right now in separation. This is the energy being like, don't make these changes on account of me. But a lot of these energies are also saying like, no, I want to make these changes on account of us. Right? This is almost the energy that's like, there's some of this energy that's basically saying right now in separation, like I can see someone being like, don't make those changes on account of me. And someone being like, I'm not making them on account of you. I'm making them on account of us. Like that sense or that space to effectively have to articulate upon the, and I told you this was a little bit of that hurdle here. That modality of choice, a lot of energy making choices right now from a state or space of saying, and this is like the healed feminine that's saying, I'm not asking you to do these things. Masculine going, that's why I want to do them. Bearing in mind, this isn't based on gender, but it feels most aligned to. Like masculine and feminine, like trying to like navigate that. Or if that's that modality where something feels like the tangible environment is too much of a challenge. It's too emotionally overwhelming in some degree. It's causing too much internal or external chaos. This is the energy that's almost, again, releasing one another in such a way that the compassion that they bring forth in the moment of being conscientious of what feels like it is best for one another. Like that's the energy that like immediately moves forward in such a way because they feel secure in their energetic choice. I told you that's that reconciliation, feeling like one makes peace with the choices because you feel like that sense that it is the right choice. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, this could be a little reassessing of the choices if there was something here, because I'm seeing again, there was a little bit of that volatility last week. These are either those modalities or moments where that feeling that something did not move as productively as you hoped, being able to articulate upon it, being able to express upon it. It's what's allowing for that modality of breakthrough now, because a lot of that energy is articulating to one another the choices that they should or would have made. And in that modality of being able to experience and express, again, there's a lot of energy right now. If there was a conflict here, and even if that conflict became overwrought in such a way that it felt like there wasn't communication that was occurring, the energy that recognizes and identifies that breakthrough point and someone being able to immediately take accountability, to immediately articulate what they would do better. That modality of self-recognition that is the mutuality of what an apology is. And again, what is an apology? The ability to express accountability and the articulation of the change going forward that will allow for that articulation not to occur again. A lot of energy right now is coming into that path of feeling restoration, but even in the restoration, it feels like an easement because it's not that you didn't, again, it doesn't require you to be energetically perfect. But this is the energy that's taking the lesson along the way to try to, right? To try to come into perfection. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, if these were modalities wherein that flare-up was brief, this is the energy that's like reaffirming or feeling that satisfaction, the commitment that they made to move closer towards one another or move deeper into an energetic connection, because this is the energy that almost feels what that volatility was. And it just reaffirms their own energetic commitment, because that's almost the energy that looks and says, wow, that was much easier. That was exactly what I hoped it would be, you know? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ten of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Strength card in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with we're gonna see it. We're gonna always see this card popping up during the retrogrades, right? Like this card loves the retrogrades. This is my retrograde card. We've got here our Seven of Swords and it's upright. Masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union. A lot of this work that we're effectively seeing that's occurring has to do with those modalities and experiences right now. This is the energy within divine union. That it's like, it's not the fact that the past comes back. I'm going to say it again, that the retrograde is not, like the retrograde is not here just to like, bring your ex back. The retrograde is not here just to bring like the past running to your door. The retrograde brings up the past so you can see how far you've come. It's here so you can recognize and identify just how much progress you have made, particularly, especially in circumstances or experiences that would have created more volatility, more energetic disruption in you in the past. What do we see here? We've got a lot of that energy experiencing or navigating some of that, like some of those experiences from the past, either internally or externally right now. But again, what are you experiencing in the process? Being able to navigate something and be like, wow, this would have really knocked me like for a loop, like back in the day, and now it doesn't. Now look how strong you've gotten. Look how strong you've gotten. Like that ability of identifying that masculine and feminine deep within the divine union frequency had a lot to do with volatility or reactivity. We're seeing that a lot right now. We had a lot of that tower energy that popped up last week. So again, if these are spaces or places wherein, circumstances would have had you more energetically volatile or had you more energetically triggered, but now you're just kind of observing, you know what I mean? You're just kind of coming to that point of just observing something energetically from within. We see even now that for a lot of that work that's occurring here, this feels empowering. This feels like an energetic breakthrough, because this is the energy that's working on the recognition, on feeling the strength and security and stability of those energetic choices as you proceed forward from this point. Now, masculine and feminine energy, one of the difficulties that we're seeing that's occurring here has to do potentially with energy that's more in that modality of confusion from the past, right? This is a lot of that work that we're seeing that's happening here with like a lot of the energy within divine union, trying to help others recognize and feel the vitality of their own strength, right? And feeling that sense of strength, feeling that sense of stability. It's like it's something that needs to be internally navigated. And we see even now like a lot of the energy deep within the divine union trying to help. This could even be trying to help those around them, be them friends, be them family right now, recognize and identify their own energetic strength. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is the energy of navigating whatever that conflict energy was last week, especially and particularly, I told you there may have been a lot of connections last week that like had their first fight, if you will, like went through that modality of experiencing that point of energetic conflict. And what are we effectively seeing at this time for a lot of that energy that's navigating forward in that way? If these are modalities wherein, again, either experiencing something that would have been caused much more disruption towards you in the past, having that experience or building into that in such a way of feeling like that was like would have been like a big thing was nothing but like a small blip. This is the energy that's feeling the alignment in terms of how far they've come within both the self and also via their energetic connection in not feeling that, having, in recognizing that that level or degree of something reaching a point of volatility is behind them, right? While as for other energy right now that we're seeing, and this could be a lot, I have to say, this could be a lot of energy coming into divine union that's unpacking past trauma in that way, right? Because we see even now, if these are spaces or places where someone became overly volatile, this could almost be a lot of the energy explaining why. This could be a lot of that energy if coming into that state or space of healing so quickly. Taking accountability may even be the articulation as to why those triggers emerged, why those tendencies emerge. Because what happens when we navigate trauma, it's not that our reactions, I need to stress this, it's not that our reactions are ever wrong. It's more about, like, I feel like there's a little bit of the energy right now that's coming into divine union being like, I'm sorry, I didn't read the room. like this is the energy that's like recognizing and identifying and saying to a certain extent, this is some of the energy saying, I recognize that some of those pathways that I learned, there was a reason. There was a place they felt absolutely normal. There was a place that they felt absolutely safe. And this is the energy that almost, again, this is how we heal from trauma. We say to one another, I'm not going to carry that trauma forward. I'm going to be mindful of it. Remember, we talked a lot about holding the wound within the self last week. I'm going to be more mindful of how I carry my wounds so that I don't necessarily energetically harm you in the process. Right? So a lot of that path work that we're seeing here with energy coming into reconciliation by articulating and recognizing, not letting something go, but taking accountability and saying that this is where a lot of the energy is saying that they're taking accountability, saying, I'm sorry that I let that wound I carry within me harm you in the process of feeling vulnerable. While for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, a lot of this energy that is in separation right now, this is the energy that is going through a lot of this path work in the past. And I see even now, this is why so much of that energy and separation is coming into that modality. Because I'm seeing here that there's a lot of energy and separation that is working through some path work of recognizing that when we have those modalities of holding on to someone and saying, like, I'm holding on to you at any cost, that isn't the expression of love, because that's that moment of recognizing what feels like that desire to hold on to someone could mean that like all of that conflict that occurs around them in the process. So if these are energies that again are navigating that tangible difficulty, that difficulty in building forth into a connection because the circumstances are such that they're too energetically difficult. This is why we see that so much of the energy in separation is either putting practical work into resolving something in a way that it will become tangibly easier, or they're coming into that state or space of energetically releasing one another and saying, even in that moment of release, like, my emotional connection to you is such that I want what's best for us, as opposed to what I want. Right? So even in that modality, there is that this is energy that is healing, because the care and the compassion through which something is being recognized is providing context and clarity to anything in the past wherein that was not received. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Strength card in combination with our Moon card, both in their uprights. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Page of Wands. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is either energy that keeps on, that's coming up with ideas. Like, where's the problem so that there's a solution, right? So this is more of this energy that's like going through that pathway, being like, wait, I got an idea. Wait, I got an idea. Wait, I got an idea. And feeling the vitality of building forth into a state or space of trying to come up with those ideas. Or this is the energy that is immediately healing in the act of energetically letting go, because this is the energy that again, they're not just thinking about the desire for a connection, they're thinking about what is best in relationality to an energetic connection. So we see even now that a lot of that work is either feeling that sense, again, reconciliation within the self that allows one to feel ready to move forward, right? Like that feeling that that's occurred. Or this is the energy that's still like trying to put their heads together to try to come up with that plan that's going to make something easier going forward. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union right now, a lot of this energy that's coming into divine union, I just see a lot of that energetic reconciliation, especially if there was conflict energy here. This is either the energy that, again, is recognizing and almost saying, giving each other that point of appreciation and saying, you know, this would have been like, this is almost the energy saying, you know, in the past, this would have been like a major hurdle. And this is the energy that almost says, I appreciate that, you know, that ability of navigating places and spaces. Because, like, listen, when we're in counterpart connection, it's not that we're ever always in alignment. But this is almost the energy that looks towards one another and says, even in those modalities that we're not in alignment, you know, it feels like we are in alignment because we're both working towards restoration. We're both working towards resolution. So this is the energy that, like, feels that sense of appreciation towards a counterpart in that way. Or this is the energy deep within divine union that is recognizing and identifying, like, again, this is the energy in the retrograde that's just being very practical. A lot of new plans, a lot of new ideas. And even here, if there's any of that murkiness that's occurring right now in relationality to the retrograde, this is almost the energy that, like, immediately just comes into that space or place of an energetic solution. Like, just immediately comes into that point of, like, trying to identify and articulate, like, utilizing, like, not allowing oneself to sit in that energetic confusion, but just allowing oneself to be very practical in the process, right? And for a lot of this could be, I feel like there's a lot of energy right now within the divine union that's giving others pep talks. Like, it feels a lot like pep talk energy, you know? Continuing to get clarification between our Seven of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Seven of Swords in its upright. Very, very strong. Two very important cards together right now. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Three of Pentacles in its upright. Masculine and feminine energy right now. Deep within the divine union frequency. A lot of this work that we're effectively seeing at this time. It feels very stabilizing. It's actually interesting. I feel like there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of stability that's coming into this retrograde period, which is somewhat unique and characteristic to the type of energy that we often ascribe to retrograde periods. Because a lot of this work that we're seeing that's happening here is happening in the interpersonal space. It's happening in the modality of confidence in oneself and in one's choices. So we see even now that there's a lot of that energy experiencing those modalities. What is some of the energy navigating right now? For the energy deep within the divine union frequency, the difficulty that's being navigated within this retrograde is other people's like wobbliness. It's other people, it's energy that moves more in that point of confusion, that may change, that may be too energetically adaptable. And so this could be a little bit of that frustration point for a lot of the energy deep within the divine union frequency right now. But again, when you're energetically grounded and someone else is too energetically adaptable, like it often creates those moments that may feel more energetically confusing to see, because when you're moving with intentionality, if someone's moving more in that state or space of like action reaction kind of thing, like it just, it's harder to see, because it's like what you want to tell someone is like, you need to come into that point of building into stability, and so I see even now that this could be difficult for some of the energy deep within the divine union frequency, because that stability isn't found without, it's found within. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, a lot of this work that we're seeing that's occurring right now coming into divine union is having to do with recognizing the stability that you may be entering right now in relationality to partnership. Because we're just seeing here that for a lot of this energy coming into divine union, if these were modalities wherein this is either the energy feeling the relief of feeling a conflict point within the connection itself and feeling the easement in relationality to what you can expect in those moments, that almost feels like that sigh of relief, because it feels like you're truly leaving the past behind you, and the past behind you, you're leaving behind you, is trauma. Or this is the energetic equivalent of energy that's almost coming towards someone in an apologetic way and saying, I'm sorry, I brought some of my trauma with me here, right? This is almost the energy coming in, like if these are modalities where someone became too overly reactive, and that point that like it did create more of that like falling out of alignment. This is like, I want to say this isn't the energy that is just blaming the past for the context of the present. This is the energy that is articulating and almost saying I'm taking accountability because there's something that I learned in the past and I needed to energetically protect myself, and I brought it in here and it's not needed. And it doesn't feel like, again, it didn't create a bridge, it created a wall, right? So being able to take that point of accountability, like that's why we see even now there may be a lot of that emotional unpacking, because it could be the articulation of someone explaining why they had those energetic tendencies in the first place, while also recommitting their own sense and saying, again, laying those standards, saying that's not what we will do going forward. So there's a lot of that energy here that even in a modality, and again, it all starts with saying, not just letting something go. If this is a disruption that occurred, this isn't the energy that says to one another, just let it go. This is the energy saying, we're not going to let this go. Because what we say when we say let it go is we say, that's the standard that we're holding going forward. We're holding a standard that we can reach that level, we can reach that limit, and then we'll just let it pass by. We'll just let that happen again. This is the energy that's really unpacking that moment to be able to articulate and say, like, how can we do something better? And that's that moment where even in a point of conflict, it feels stabilizing because you're reaffirming what those standards are. While for masculine and feminine energy right now in separation, there's a lot of reconciling that's happening here. But I mean reconciling either in the modality of trying to come into a solution, trying to make something energetically easier with tangible choices, letting that be something that's being presented and saying, like, this is the solution to the energetic problem. Or this is energy that is reconciling and saying, again, coming into that modality of saying, I want what's best for us. And even if what's best for us feels like it's a modality of being in separation, this is the energy that feels like it's very healing in that way, because this is the energy that says, this isn't about, what's best for, like, this is even the energy that's moving from a point of consideration for the counterpart, even while in separation, that helps raise the energetic standards going forward. Because even in that modality of seeing someone bring compassion forth so early on in an energetic connection, like, that's something, like, this is almost the energy saying, I'm not going to forget this, because it's that recognition point of the energy seeing that and understanding that is work of energy that is stable, that is being considerate in the process. Continuing to get clarification between our Seven of Swords and its upright in combination with our Page of Wands. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with, it's like, I'm going to say it though, like, I'm going to say it, like, even though I want to say there is some energy right now in separation that's going, even though I'm reconciled with it, it sucks. Like, there's energy, like, there's some energy right now that's in separation that's almost saying to a certain extent, like, I can be reconciled with the fact that something sucks. I can be reconciled with the fact that something just, like, isn't, like, you know what I mean? Like that's what we're seeing here. But I think the thing that's important that's happening for a lot of the energy in separation right now, under circumstances, and I need to keep using this word, under circumstances, is that there's circumstances. This is why there's something here that, like, is like upsetting, but it's also energetically reaffirming. Because this isn't the energy that's, like, in separation right now, that's moving forward and saying, like, oh, this is my energetic fault, I couldn't make something come together. This is the energy that's releasing a lot of that work in the past, especially if someone was making you feel energetically bad about the circumstances being as they are, right? What happens in the modality of experiencing something and someone saying, I don't hold it against you. I recognize that the circumstances are less than ideal. I recognize that this isn't an us problem. It is the external that is causing some of that disruption or some of that conflict point. This is the energy that immediately feels like this is the energy that hurts and heals at the same moment, because this is the energy that feels the externalization of the circumstances, but doesn't feel like someone is making them take the responsibility for them, because this is the energy that is healing themselves by recognizing that we don't need to come into that point of taking something energetically personally if there's something practical that is occurring. So we see even now, what's beautiful about this is, and again, this is either energy, this is not energy. There is some energy here that's articulating upon change, Like there's a lot of this energy here that we're potentially seeing is occurring right now in relationality to change. But what is really valuable about this is either the energy that is working in separation together to try to affect or try to determine what that change is, right? And mutually feeling it, but both operating in that context of trying to find solutions to make something energetically easier. And in that modality, healing from experiences where it felt like nothing one could do was ever energetically enough. Or this is energy that is separating at a modality of recognizing that you feel like you have done all you can do, but the weight of the external is too much to navigate. And even in that modality here, we see that that is that moment that immediately allows for healing and catharsis, because it's a recognition point that these are not energies that are coming into that point of accusing one another for the circumstances or situations. They're just observing and articulating and healing through them together. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into divine union, this is a lot of energy that is either unpacking the past, or they're feeling the relief of letting something from the past go. Because what we're effectively seeing right now, for a lot of this energy right now coming into divine union, if there was conflict space, seeing how easily that conflict could be managed, seeing how easily that conflict could be navigated. This is the energy that almost feels that easement, because you feel like you've left the past behind. Anything that would have caused more trauma at a moment of conflict instead of productivity. Anything that would have caused more pain in a moment of conflict instead of progress. This is a lot of energy that feels like they're in that modality of healing from those things, even at that moment of feeling somewhat like remembering them, or remembering the context through which you're no longer kind of inhabiting. While for some of the energy right now, if these are modalities where something reached too far, something became too energetically volatile, these are the energies that are working in collaboration to try to articulate and affect and understand what needs to change going forward. And I need to stress this is not energy that says you just need to let it go, you just need to get used to it. Because when we say you just need to let it go, you just need to get used to it, that's the energy says whatever that was that crossed the emotional energetic boundary, I hope you recognize that that's part and parcel for where we exist, right? This is the energy that is taking it, like mutually taking it very seriously, recognizing it as such, doing that work to articulate both what one received that may have caused pain versus what you yourself may have done that may have accidentally inflicted it. Because this is the energy that is sensitive and mindful of not wanting to do so as they proceed forward. So we see even here, there's like almost a lot of gentleness that's coming forward on this. And this could even be a lot of conversations about the past wherein those triggers were necessary, right? Because sometimes one of the hard things we recognize in terms of how we react to things is there may have been a state or space where that reactivity was necessary. It was required to stay energetically safe. So we see even now that some of that energy is maybe unpacking and articulating and saying, the reason I have that tendency is because there was a place or space where that was the energetic norm, right? So this is the energy that doesn't just assume that that's the way it's going to be. This is the energy that can almost articulate upon where those tendencies emerge, that allows for something more productive as you proceed forward. Final card for today's spread between our Three of Pentacles in combination with, for masculine and feminine energy deep within the divine union frequency right now. A lot of this work we're seeing that's being navigated has to do with how far you've energetically come within the frequency. For a lot of this energy, that ability of I keep telling you, a letting go of regret. Because there's a lot of energy here that's like, I'm telling you right now, what happens when you feel regret? Regret are those modalities where you recognize how far you've come, and then realizing that you're no longer in that modality. You wouldn't make those energetic choices. So again, if you're in that modality of regret and understanding, honor that space, appreciate it, because a lot of that energy right now is like navigating forward in such a way, but they're letting that be that point of empowerment. And even here where I see that the counterparts are assisting one another, saying like your own ability to look back upon something and wish that you did something different, like that amplifies like how far you've come, right? And even here we see that a lot of that energy is like articulating upon that, even as they're navigating and feeling some of that weight that comes up emotionally. Final card for today's spread between our Three of Pentacles in combination with our Nine of Swords and its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Four of Swords in its upright. So there's a lot of this work that we're seeing that's occurring right now in relationality to this is like that need to rest. And we saw this for a lot of the energy deep within the divine union frequency, being very energetically hard on one's own self. I'm going to say it again, that pathwork to perfection can often create spaces or states wherein, again, you feel like nothing that you do is enough, right? Feels like you're never perfect. I'm going to say this again. The quality and characteristic of perfection is feeling like you are not perfect. That's why it's perfection, right? Like, that's perfection is an ideal. It's not a location. It's an aspiration. It's not a location. It's perfect. You guys, I need you to say this throughout the retrograde, okay? Perfection is an aspiration. It is not a location, okay? It is a aspiration and it is not a location. So we see even now that for a lot of that energy doing that work, coming into that point of energetic catharsis to a certain extent, this is either the energy that is expressing this to those around them, potentially in the modality of any space of regret, or this is the energy that's reaffirming that within their self in the process. And so we see even now, like there's a little bit of that energy here that's like, again, that is some of that compassionate Leo energy coming back to the self, right? Because this is like the Leo energy that almost articulates that weight of feeling like one is not perfect is exactly what helps us stay focused and true to ourselves, right? Because when we move into that laissez-faire approach of assuming we're perfect, well, then we're probably off the mark, right? Because that's that modality that doesn't put a lot of introspection into it. So we see even now that for a lot of the energy deep within the divine union frequency, there's almost the energy being like, it hurts to care, and be like, well, yeah, that's the thing with caring. It hurts. It feels like there's never enough that you can do, right? So we see even now a lot of the energy deep within the divine union frequency is giving each other support in that way and reaffirming and saying everything you do is enough. Keep going. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is either the energy that's like doing some like really, really deep unpacking. If these are situations of feeling how easy it can be to navigate a conflict, what often happens in those modalities wherein we recognize and identify how easy it can be to navigate through an energetic conflict, it can remind us of all of those spaces. It can be very triggering, right? Because it can remind us of all those spaces in the past wherein it wasn't. And even feeling that sense from this energy, feeling that pathwork of now recognizing that is something that's healed. This is almost a lot of the energy that is like, it's almost like going through a grieving process of the past self, because that's the energy saying like, I'm not going to have to hurt like that anymore. I'm not in a space where that's going to occur, right? There's a lot of introspection here. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into that point of reconciliation here, if these are modalities wherein, again, it feels like there was some kind of conflict last week, but it was creating a lot of pain, this is the energy that isn't just letting something go, They're not just saying it's a foregone conclusion that that's going to occur. Let's keep going. This is the energy that almost introspects and says, let's identify what the difficulty was and let that end here, because this is the energy that says it's okay not to be perfect once. Like, this is the energy that's getting like the other part of that lesson coming into divine union, which is like, yeah, it's okay, you don't have to be perfect once. Like because the ability to recognize and identify, this is that energy that does that work in terms of saying, let's not have it occur again. Right? Like, this is the energy that's almost saying, like, let's now utilize this moment and come into a point of learning. Let's let this be something that is informing us in terms of how we can do something going better going forward. So there's a lot of energy here, even if they're in that modality, working through how something may have reached a place where you couldn't necessarily collaborate to work through or resolve something, but it became something that felt like it was more like utilizing the emotions as weapons or walls. This is the energy that's taking that accountability, because that's the energy that even in the moment of doing that, you're already committed in the path of recognizing and healing, because you're saying that you're committing yourself to doing better next time. While for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now, a lot of this work that we're seeing with the energy in separation at this time, specifically and particularly potentially has to do with, I'm going to say it even now, this is the energy that's either coming towards, and I need to stress this is the energy that is coming towards solutions in relationality to anything that feels like it is too much of a tangible obstacle. But what's beautiful about this is there's a plan here. We see it even here. This is the energy that's like, here's the plan. This is what it is. And having that plan, having that tangibility of the plan is what is allowing something to potentially continue forward, because it's the recognition point and the difference between what feels difficult in the moment versus what would be perpetually difficult, right? Or this is the energy that is in that modality of, again, healing by letting something go with the recognition point that to be able to maintain it in the way that it is too difficult. And this is the energy that shows compassion to one another by almost saying, like, I'd rather have you in a modality of being energetically separate than be in a space or place that feels like it's too emotionally hard for both of us. So we see even now reconciliation coming via one or two different modalities. Final card in today's spread, time. 7 of Pentacles. Time's always going to become a bit of an issue during these retrograde cycles. It starts working a little funny, right? Starts feeling like time is like, I want to say, makes it, sometimes the retrograde periods are articulated with the fact that it makes time feel a little funny. Here we're seeing, again, we're feeling a lot of that retrograde slowdown, if you will. Masculine, but again, this articulation point in time and timing, this is helping. For masculine and feminine energy in separation right now, that ability to articulate, this is, you want to know, and I'm showing you right now, this is the determinative factor between the energy and separation in relationality to whether this is a reconciliation that feels like a point of separation, or whether this is a reconciliation by means of being able to come up with a plan. Because this is the energy in separation that is recognizing the difference between what is difficult perpetually, what feels like it's always in that modality of being difficult, or seeing something that can change, seeing something that can reach a point of easement, and that is helping to define what feels like that compassionate surrender into a new experience, or that modality of recognizing and being able to be energetically patient for the time of seeing a breakthrough that can occur that will allow for deepening of an energetic connection. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, a lot of this energy right now, this is what is valuable. It's not the fact that it requires you to be energetically perfect, but this isn't the energy that's moving through a conflict space and saying to one another, just let it go, just deal with it, I don't want to talk about it. This is the energy that is introspecting upon it, because this is the energy that's not laying the status quo down in relationality to something that was experienced that you would have to experience going forward in order to perpetuate or move forward into a connection. This is the energy that recognizes that even when you're falling out of alignment, that can be an opportunity to learn. That can be an opportunity to grow. That can be an opportunity of making sure that whatever that disruption point was, it isn't going to be something that is cyclical, that always happens, but rather something that can become transformative in being able to identify and recognize what you would do differently going forward. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep within the divine union frequency, a lot of this work that is navigated right now has to do with patience. Because a lot of the energy right now, if they're experiencing something that feels like momentary setbacks or momentary confusions, this is the energy that is thinking about it more in relationality to the long-term plans. Thinking about it more in that space or place of the energetically bigger picture. So we see even now that there's something about this retrograde that's helping the energy think about something in a bigger way to help navigate what may feel like a momentary obstacle or hurdle. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here to receive it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, gracestrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of quick updates before we move into personal readings today. And again, a free reading to the highest gifter. On top, thank you so much to everybody who joined our tarot class last month. Our next tarot class will be held this Wednesday at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. If you would like to become a part of that class program, simply head over to my Substack, gracestrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack will grant you access and entry into our live class each month, as well as providing access to the course materials and recordings for all of our previous classes. So you still have some time to catch up. You still have some time to catch up if you're just joining us. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students if you have any questions that you would like to ask in relation to anything that we're learning. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you'll also receive a one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein we will assess where you are in your own personal tarot journey, and I'll give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best effect moving forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them so that they be useful to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So I want to thank you so much if you're just joining us, and I look forward to potentially seeing you at our next class. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there to be able to stay up to date on any new offerings, any new events, any new articles. I post an article that gives a summary on what we've been seeing energetically if you don't have time to catch the full readings. You'll also, if you become, you'll also have access to finding out who's won our giveaways. Speaking of giveaway winners, I want to thank the winner of our July giveaway. It's listed over on my newsletter. If we are now doing the giveaway for August, if you would like to enter the giveaway to win a free tarot reading, all you need to do is head over to the link tree in my bio. There is a 2-minute travel survey there. Filling out that travel survey will grant you an entry into the giveaway. But if you would like to increase your chances of winning, go ahead and forward that to a friend, because when I pull the winner, not only will I be giving a free reading to the person who wins, I will also be giving it to the person who referred them. So thank you so much if you've already entered, and I wish you the best of luck of winning this month. Finally, I want to let you guys know about a couple new offerings I'm now offering on top of my standard life path readings. I now offer mentorship classes. These are classes that can be focused on whatever area of study that you are invested in learning about. I take a very limited number of students for these reasons. These can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly program. So that is 4 45-minute classes, 1 per month over the scope of a month. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, 1 per week over the space of a month, so that you can stay more consistent on your own journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.